What is up, guys? I hope you enjoyed that progress update. You know, that is week 1 to now week 4. It is peak week. I'm going to take you through how my meal prep is changing just a little bit to help me fuel my goals for the race cup coming on Saturday. All that right after the intro. Because what is life without the Joe people, huh? All right, so in the oven, we've got 3.65 pounds of chicken tenders. And if we go to the fridge, we've got some beef from last week. And then we also have all of this 85-15 lean burgers right there. Now you may be asking, well, John, why are you only meal prepping meat? Because that is the goal of this week when it comes to meal prep. When in doubt, protein it out. I'm not too concerned with calories this week. I'm only concerned with the first 3 days eating protein. In fact, I don't even mind my calories being super low because I want ketones to be up, and I just want to give my body protein and ketones, protein and ketones. And the last couple days, we'll add in carbs a little. We're not going to go crazy. We'll do about 100 grams a day up until the race. And then the race day, we'll have about 75 for the total time of the race in the form of honey packets. And that will be the game. That is the plan. It's worked well before. I know as a low carb athlete, I know as a high, if you're watching this and you're dabbling into low carb ketogenic running, you might be like 75 grams for the whole run, the whole 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I do that in 1 hour. Yeah, well, that's the difference. That's the difference in the breed, son. All right, guys, so simple math here. We know this is 3.65 pounds. So we're gonna weigh it again to minus the water that was cooked out of it. And then we're gonna do some math so we know, okay, so how many calories per ounce, blah, 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 blah. It's important. Remember, if you weigh your food raw, you need to track it raw. If you weigh it cooked, you need to understand where it is cooked. You can also just search cooked chicken tenderloins, it'll pop up. So you don't have to complicate it, but yeah, that's what we're doing. So now what we're doing is we're taking 3 raw egg yolks, farm raised. We're gonna eat the whites later. We got yolks, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then a little bit of this, and we're gonna make a buffalo sauce to toss those in. Over there, right there. Look at how gorgeous these are. Now I can just grab them and go. Grab them and go. Protein for the win. Here we go, homies. 3 egg whites, 3 whole eggs, a little bit of tomatoes, drop of cheese. Happy about this. Hi. Couple questions. Look, does this intrigue y'all at all? Let me know in the comments. We're thinking about doing some merch. If you believe in the idea that we can always gain in performance, let me know. Hey, say hi. Hi. What is up, homies? All right, we are at pop-up number 2 at the same Nutrition Depot. We got the drink mix ready though, so gonna be out here talking to people that walk by, giving out samples, trying to get on the shelf at this store. Bootstrapping's all about the hustle, baby. Let's go. The best thing about high mileage days is we do get a couple more carbs. So we got to try this paleo flour. Only 13 carbs per slice. So honestly, not terrible. But what do we do? What was the slices, you ask? Look at this. Look at this pizza. Pizza, a beautiful wife, some bones on the TV. It's a good day. It's a good day. Yeah, buddy. Finishing up the protein prep. Let's go. You can't get wrong with beef, people. In the middle of a meal, didn't want to forget to show you guys. So we've got about 12 ounces of, well, about 10 ounces of chicken. I had 2 earlier. And then we've got about 2 servings of Greek yogurt here. So roughly 80 grams of protein right here and less than 600 calories. Boom. Here we go, guys. Last meal of the day. We got 8 ounces of ground turkey, 4 ounces of ground beef, siete chips. Here's the total macros on the screen. Boom. Rude. Real quick, guys. Coffee to Ray. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the 3 biggest things I have learned from dieting while training for a marathon. I think that this is a really important conversation to have, and this can be applied to any kind of running, right? If you're training for a 5K, 10K, half marathon, if you're just trying to be an overall better performer at any kind of endurance-based event, I think this information can go a really long way. Number 3, you need to make sure that you're hydrating. I quickly found out when I was being a little bit more calculated with my calories and my food intake that my hydration greatly impacted whether my meals were satisfying or not. And I don't just mean like drinking liquids while I was eating. I mean like if I didn't drink well the day before and I woke up and I was dehydrated, my level of hunger was much greater. Now, was that because I wasn't drinking enough and that was making me hungry? Or rather, was it that being dehydrated was affecting my sleep, which we know people that sleep less is associated with higher hunger and higher calorie intake? Who knows? I'm assuming it's the hydration plus the sleep. I think it's a mixture of things, but I just noticed that if I was really on top of my water game and I was getting enough fluids, my hunger was a lot more manageable. And I think that when you're training for something like this and you're doing a lot more cardiovascular based exercise, then you're going to see an uptick in hunger overall. So making sure that you're managing it by staying hydrated and all that, super, super important. The second thing is that you really need to plan for eating more protein than you think you should. Even on a normal ketogenic diet, when you're just bodybuilding, your protein requirements aren't as high. Whereas when you're doing more running or endurance-based events, protein needs tend to be higher, especially if we're talking about adding in cross-training. So if you're lifting weights and running, you're kind of hitting both ends of the stick, so to speak. And so protein tends to be a little bit higher, protein needs per se. So I generally would recommend a 1.2 to a 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So I weigh 180, so I shoot for about 220 grams of protein. Prepping that ahead of time was something that I didn't do well. I was always around 160, 170 grams of protein because my calories were probably too low, which I'm going to get to in the next tip. But definitely noticing that like my protein ratio wasn't where it should be. So what I would do, especially from like a running standpoint, if you are training for a run of any kind, I would get your protein requirements, figure out how you want to implement carbs, if at all. That completely depends on you as a person, your training, the distance you're training for, a lot of variables. But figure those two numbers out, and then figure out how many calories you need, and then fill the rest in with fat. That's what I would do. And that brings me to the number one biggest thing I've found. Do not underestimate your calorie needs. I was grossly underestimating my calorie needs going into it. And what I found was, unlike when I was dieting for, say, a bodybuilding show, dieting when you're marathon prepping, especially if your deficit is too big, is extremely difficult. But not only that, but it hinders your training. You really have to find a balance of losing fat in a controlled and sustainable way, but not doing so drastically that it's really hindering your performance so that you don't progress while you get closer to your race. You don't want that, right? We want to be faster while we're getting leaner. Being shredded is not worth it if you don't hit a PR, not when it comes to endurance-based events. You have to look at it through that lens. It's really easy when you're running and you're trying to be a fit runner to get pigeonholed into like the tunnel of, oh, I just need to get abs and then I'll be fast. No. That is not how it works. Abs are a reflection of overall athleticism and endurance. They are not the end goal. The end goal is performance. The body will adjust and develop as it needs to, but you have got to focus on performing well. That does not mean you can't lose fat, right? But you need to be in a slight deficit. So when I started, I was in more of like 1,000 calorie deficit, and I ended up having to push my calories up because after the first couple weeks, I just could not sustain that deficit. And I kept wanting to eat more. My hunger was insatiable. I could not, it was unquenchable. It was so bad. So I increased my calorie allotment so that I could better feed myself exactly what I needed. And it went a long way. So those are the 3 things I learned. I hope they taught you something. If you have questions, put them in the comment section below, and I'll see you on the next one.